Okay, we're back, and we're back after doing the Japanese movements of turn number 2. They have conglomerated their fleet back up into this Caroline Islands sea zone with plenty of fighters on there, and a small enclave down here in the Papua sea zone. Although they haven't got the territory to land things on, but they're not too bad there. They've got themselves around Sumatra, obviously not the island, but the sea zone. And we are now back on with the United Kingdom, India and Australian fleets. Not too much is going to be happening here with these. They're going to be sending one of these fish out in the water across to the British convoy zone, trying to grab those IPCs back that's on the transport centre. I don't envisage Japan going in and taking them back again, even though it's going to be just one submarine in there trying to hold on to it. It would be petty if Japan did that, and Japan might be petty. What they're going to try to do as well, the Australians, is to try to conglomerate their fleets, that one that's in the Java sea zone and one that's down here just off the coast of Sydney, and bring it into Darwin, try to get safety numbers, some sort of bulk action, because Japan has some bad rolls at the start of this game, but positionally they've got themselves into good shape right now, and the economic damage they've done on the Brits has been really, really telling. In this case, all that the Brits can do in India is buy themselves one piece of armour. That's it. They've got no more money down there. One destroyer, one submarine to come back into this sea zone off of Sydney afterwards, but that's all that they can do here. So all they can do now is think about what battling is going to occur. This will happen as a combat move, so they can grab those IPCs, although they're not actually combating in there. The only battles that are scheduled to be done by the Brits will be going into French Indochina in a big way, trying to grab some initiative back off of Japan. That is how it looks on the board. Let's start rolling some dice. We will have one British fighter rolling in at 3. We will have infantry artilleries at 2s, and we have a pair of those for each, and we have one individual infantry on his own, which we have rolled at the end. So 3s and 2s. The 3s hit, and 2 of the 2s have hit. Nice, that's a good start for the Brits. And then the one individual infantry on his own rolling in at 1, and it's a miss. So that will be 3 off of Japan. Now, their options are limited. They don't want to really particularly lose the bomber. Okay, it's rubbish in defence, but it's expensive. And if they survive this battle in any kind of shape, you wouldn't really want to be having to replace one of these expensive bombers. Let me just have a little think about this. 1 second. Okay, what we're going to do, we are going to keep the expensive bomber alive and take the 3 hits down here on Japan, on the Japanese tank and infantry units, reasoning that if they get a good smash back this time and survive, and perhaps the Brits will pull off, they still got this bomber that they can use to keep doing this economic damage to the British factory, which crippled them last time round. So, in reply, we will have one Japanese fighter rolling in at 4s. We will have the 2 infantry and the 1 tank going in at 3 for the last time. The 4 gets a hit, and I beg your pardon, they're at 2s, and they've only got 1 hit themselves. Nearly made a mistake there. And the 1 Japanese bomber defending at a 1 doesn't get a hit. So it's just 2 off the Brits. They can take both of those. They can take both of those off of infantry. So I believe that Japan's plan really is gone a bit awry there. It was possibly flawed thinking, it was possibly good thinking, but it hasn't worked out. That's the way that the cooker crumbles sometimes. So we're going to have to roll the British fighter again at 3, and infantry artillery, there's 3 of those in a combination, all at 2s, and they've just smashed the Japanese, and that's a done deal. Absolute done deal. So we have the 1 Japanese fighter at 4 and the defending bomber at 1. and the fighter scored 1 hit, which would be British infantry again being lost from there. So at the end of that battle, the Brits would have a fighter and 2 artilleries going into French Indochina, and they will be shuffling units through from their factory and from Burma, possibly into Shan State, although we're not too worried about how strong Shan State will be. And we're going to hope that the Chinese and the Americans can help out with their Flying Tigers in there. And we'll be looking forward to a reshuffling of the units and America coming forward for their turn. Well, round number 2 is likely to peter out with only a small piece of action. Before we get to that, it was quite important to point out that with the Brits going into French Indochina as they did, they're taking those 3 IPCs. Japan have actually gone down to 29 IPCs, meaning they'll only be taking 2 victory points next turn unless they grab somewhere back, which they're likely to do. They're on 6 victory points at the moment of the 22 that they need. Now, America Land have made a purchase of a couple of B-17s and battleship cruisers, submarines and some marines that's going to be building up this force in Hawaii and coming forward later, because they are a bit concerned with the strength that Japan's do still hold. The battle that they're going to have will be with the Chinese from Szechuan and with their Flying Tigers from Kwee-Chau and going into Shensai to take their lead from the Brits and try to slow down this Japanese advance as much as they can. As you can see, it's a fairly even affair with a couple of Flying Tigers at 3s, the Japanese all defending at 2s, and really the Chinese crew, well, their absorption, don't like as you might call them. So the Flying Tigers, 2 fly in at 3, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 at 1. And everybody misses. Oh dear, this could prove disastrous. It looked good at first, but not good enough. We have 1 Japanese tank at 2s. We have infantry artillery combination at 2s as well. And they all missed. Well, that's a get out of jail free card, that's for sure. So let's go back again, start this battle right from the start. So we have 2 Flying Tigers and 4 Chinese infantry. I'm just seeing the 1 hit from that 3. That's the only one that's scored. Wow, this has been attritional. We'll take that 1 off of the Japanese infantry. They're still going to get their 3 at 2s. They're going to take white dice for a change. And they all miss. These dice, we couldn't stop them hitting before. Now they have stopped. We're not complaining, honestly. So, back to the American and Chinese attack again at 3s and 1s. And just the 1 hit again, but we're slowly working our way through. We've now got just the 1 tank that's left alive, although we have the casualty roll for the artillery. So it's 2 at 2s for Japan. 2 hits, they come back to life again. So we lose 2 of the Chinese infantry from down there, and we now will have left in there 2 Flying Tigers and 2 Chinese infantry. Now they hit. That's no problem at all. That Japanese tank has been lost as its parting shot. It misses. This is turn number 3 and some revelations. Japan are buying themselves infantry artillery in great numbers because they have plenty of shipping on their main island and nothing to ship. Revelations in 1 second. Before that, Japan are going to be moving into this Solomon's Island sea zone with their destroyer, with their submarine, to try to take out the British submarine and grab 5 IPCs from the economy. A couple of planes are going to be coming down from the Carolina Islands fleet, and they're going to be helping out with this attack. It should be a fairly simple affair, and the 1 battleship going back in there to reinforce this fleet. However, aside from a couple of spoiler attacks up north, trying to get into Anhui and Shensai again, just to distract the China forces there. Japan are going to exploit Britain's ambition over talent, should we say. Buoyed by Britain's success in French Indochina, they've moved units forward into Burma, into Shan State. They have left Calcutta wide open. There's just 3 units in there. And having an overnight think about things, I suddenly realised that we can put these 2 infantry that are in the Malayan Peninsula onto destroyers and ship those in. We can put an infantry and artillery from Siam onto the transport that's there that came part of the failed Sumatra attack. It can get in there. We can get 2 bombardments from battleships going into there and a couple of fighters. We should be able to clear Calcutta out and maybe take damage on fighter planes. Why not, indeed, to keep ground units into there. If you take that and hold that until the end of or start of your next turn, then Japan win the game by the Brits looking the wrong way. I cannot think who played the Brits so badly. Let's get these battles on the board and see if Japan can really win this game this turn, because I can't see any way of the Brits getting across from Australia all that way. And the Americans are no help. They're nowhere near Japan's island here. Grabbing India so quickly on start of turn number 3 could be a brilliant result for Japan. This is the Japanese attack into Calcutta in front of us. Before we do that, we'll just take care of the Solomon Islands sea zone battle, because it's quite an easy one to sort out. There is 1 British submarine in there. It doesn't get a surprise strike because Japan do have a destroyer and they have a submarine as well, so they will get a surprise strike on the Brits. A couple of aircraft coming over, it should be a done deal, you would think, wouldn't you? So let's get the surprise strike by the Japanese submarine done first. It's going to hit at 2s. Or miss at 2s, and the 2 fighter planes and 1 destroyer will get a shot at 3s. And they all miss. Crikey O'Reilly. So, British submarine in there on its own. It doesn't score a hit. So, back to status quo again. We have the surprise strike from the Japanese submarine. It gets a hit finally. So there's no reply from a surprise strike. Then the Brits have gone down in that water, and we will adjust the IPC value of the British bonus down by 5, because Japan will hold that sea zone. So this is the battle in front of us now for Calcutta. I had a quick pause there, and just something just occurred to me, and I double checked the rules. Of course, in this version of the game, the defending submarines do not get first strike anyway, so that wouldn't have mattered whether they had a destroyer in there or not. Just me having to cross the I's and dot the T's sometimes. Let's have a look at this battle here now. The first thing we should do is roll for the bombardment of these 2 battleships that are in here. They're going to be rolling at 2s. Bombardments in this game, whether it's destroyers bombarding, yes, destroyers bombarding in this game, all go in at 2s, including the battleship. So they've scored 2 hits. Man alive, that's a pretty good start. That's taking out infantry and artillery. They will get moved behind the line. They will get 1 reply to that, but wow, okay, we now have the anti-aircraft gun. It fires at each incoming aircraft, in which case it's going to get 2 shots at 1, and it singed the wings, but it didn't do anything other than that. That can get moved behind the line. It doesn't fire again, and now we get the regular combat. We move the battleships out of the way so we don't confuse those. We now get 2 at 3, 2 at 2, and 2 at 1. Try and take in this tank out. So 2 at 3 and 2 at 2. The 3s being the highest dice, being blacks, and they've just smashed that tank to smithereens. 3 shots on that. So the Brits are being booted out of Calcutta. Japan have taken that place. They have taken the IPCs from there. Can they hold on? Let's see what units will be left after the British reply. They have 3 dice. They have 1 tank, 1 infantry, 1 artillery. It's all the same number, but it's nice to see who's doing what damage. if they can do some damage. We're looking at 2s only in defence. And it's just one of the infantry artillery combinations that scores a hit. So, and I think this is quite a bold move, but a correct move. Japan will take that on their fighter plane, because the fighter can't land in that territory. It's only just been taken, and they're going to want to, Japan this is, keep as many units as they can on the ground in India to rebuff what will be quite a small reply, really, because all that the Brits can hit them back with next turn will be infantry artillery and 1 fighter plane. I can't see anything else getting around to there, but I will double check and triple check to make sure I'm not as stupid as the British player was last time round. Next up, I'll get the Shansai and Anhui battles queued up, ready to rock and roll. Try not to be too confusing, but probably confusing the issue. This is the battle in Anhui on this side. That's the one in Shansai as the number 2 dice, but ignore all that. We're just going to do the Anhui attack first. We have 2 artillery and 3 infantry going in, so they're going to be getting 4 at 2s plus 1 at 1. There's your 4 at 2s. I make a mistake there. It's actually, there's 4 units in there for Japan on the infantry. They're going to be getting, 4 at 2, knock everything over, 4 at 2s and 2 at 1. Let's roll that first and stand everybody up straight afterwards. 4 at 2s, they've scored just the 1 hit. So one of the Chinese guys will move behind the casualty strip, and they would get 3 at 2 in reply. And they all miss, man alive. Let's go again. Now we've got everything stood up straight. We have got 1, 2, 3, 4 at 2, plus 2 at 1. Infantry artillery combinations are the 2s. And this time, there's enough hits there just with... No, there's not. They've just done the 1 hit again with the 1. Oh, it's slow progress, but it's effective. So, China will lose extra guy from there. He will get 2 at 2 in reply. And both miss. Well, it's going to be finished off now, surely. We have 2 infantry along with their artilleries and 2 at 1 for infantry on their own. And they've just about done that with those 2 hits there. China will get 1 reply with 1 guy and 1 dice and misses. That's been an utter failure for China just there. So I'm going to just flip those back onto the board. 1 second. The battle for Shansai is now in front of us. We have 1 fighter rolling in at 3s and 2 at 2 from the infantry artillery, and there won't be 2 at 1 after that should we need them. Didn't need them last time. And they completely missed. Nice! 2 at 1 for the remaining 2 infantry in there for Japan, and they get a hit. Nice! So, we take 1 casualty on the Chinese side. They have 2 at 2 in reply. They both miss. It's looking like a whitewash up there now. 1 Japanese fighter plane and 2 at 2 from the infantry artillery combinations. And again, just the plane here. I thought we'd missed again entirely. But so we don't need the 2 infantry now that's we left down there. It's going to be 1 dice for Japan, for China. Get me kids have confused it, and they have scored a hit finally. So out of all those battles that was in Anhui and Shansai, that is the only casualty on the Japanese side. China have been right royally whipped there. Let me tidy everything up, do the non-com movement, make it look all pretty, and then have a good think about whether we can get anything out of this more than these Brits down here being stuck and too far away, too remote. British player, as I said, was really tardy in that thinking that's there, and all they've got now, I think is just infantry artillery combination and 1 plane to try to take on Calcutta and regain this game. Otherwise, it's going to be all over Red Rover. Man, how time flies when you're enjoying yourself. And with that in mind, we're at about the limit of this video, around 20 minutes worth of recording time, I believe. Let's not flog a dead horse. Japan are on 34 IPCs. They're on 10 victory points, courtesy of the extra money that they took from the British economy. And with the non-combat movements taking place by Japan, they've got one extra infantry guard that was in Siam around into Calcutta. They've now got 5 units in there, plus the anti-aircraft gun that's nicely switched sides for them. They've also moved their fleet back across to cover off any eventuality of the Brits coming through. Now, they could come through, provided this game is still live at the time. America land can't come across. They're building up a nice little force, but they can't reach Japanese island and take Tokyo and prevent Japan from winning. The only way to prevent Japan from winning this game right now is these 4 units in here. It's 2 infantry, 2 artillery and 1 fighter versus Japan's 4 infantry and 1 artillery and their anti-aircraft gun. Let's get all that up on the board. If my fingers will take everything all in one go, it won't, will it? Of course it won't. And then we can roll this all out and we can finish this game off live straight away right here, right now, and put that stupid British player out of his misery, because it really was that error by the Brits of just leaving that door. It wasn't even half open. I think really you could say it was wide open. So let's roll the dice and see what happens to see whether the Brits can save this game. First thing we're going to do is roll the anti-aircraft gun. It's now working for the Japanese. It rolls in at a 1. And we just missed. Oh my God, that was a terrible shot. Everything's got to land in my roll box. It doesn't. That was a terrible shot. So we now have the British fighter rolling it in at 3. It misses. We have infantry artillery combination. 2 infantry, 2 artillery. Yeah, it's all at 2s. But one I have coloured dice. And they've all missed as well. Oh my God. So this is big. This is really big now. Japan have got those 1, 2, 3, 4 infantry, double check everything, and 1 artillery. That is going to be 5 dice. They're all infantry, that one's the artillery, it's all at 2s. Can they rebuff this British advance? And they've scored 2 hits out of it. So that's 2 Brits down. The anti-aircraft will not fire again. It's just going to be these 3 units that are left for the Brits. We can do this as one roll together. 1 at 3, 2 at 2. Balance the camera, good roll of the dice. And 1 of the 2s has hit. So that is 1 Japanese infantry down on the deal. In reply for Japan, they now have their 1, 2, 3 infantry and 1 artillery, plus the one that's behind the strip. And they have scored 2 hits again. There is nothing the Brits can do here. They're going to have to take it 1 off the fighter and 1 off the artillery unit, because they've got to have something to move into Calcutta should this in some way survive, and I really can't see it doing that. So 1 lonely British artillery unit. It misses. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 for Japan to win the game. And that is the winning roll. That was the winning roll, and this is the winning position. Japan have won it on turn number 3. I've not won with Japan on turn 3 before. I think their tactic of economically crushing the UK, grabbing convoy routes and convoy centres has worked out really nicely this time round, and America being tardy coming forward, well, there's plenty of units there. Playing this game another couple of rounds would be great fun for America land, and I might just do that for the fun of it. But officially, Japan have won this game. The Brits can't do anything about getting India back or Calcutta back. So thank you very much for watching. Until next time, be cool.